So hello and welcome, I'm Frederick Dunn and this is The Way to Be. This is a special video because something brand new has just been released by, you guessed it, Flow. So this is the company that brought us Flow Hive, and now they brought us a brand new tool. And this tool is called the Flow Super Lifter. It comes in this case and it's going to solve a problem that many Flow Hive keepers have been challenged with through the years, because we have a brood box that's underneath a deep Flow Super as a minimum. Now, whether you have a Flow Hive or you have a standard Langstroth Hive, the challenges are often the same, and this kit solves that problem. So today is February the 10th, and I was provided with this so that I could do a review. I've been aware of it, and I've seen the prototype when they were first considering this as a tool that might be useful for beekeepers. So I'm happy to say, here it is, and I'm going to walk you through it, how to use it on your hive, how it works, and even how the extension arms work. So we're just going to tilt the Flow Super over on its end, much the way you've seen in other videos where, for example, you might tilt your entire hive back onto some kind of trolley so that you could separate the boxes and do inspections without straining your back. Look at the quality of this unit. It has rubber bumpers everywhere it should have. It is a marvel of simplicity and engineering. So we're going to attach it to my Flow Hive. It's a Flow Hive that I use for training, so it's not loaded with honey right now. It would be great if we could do that, but I think you might guess that outside here in the state of Pennsylvania, the northeastern part of the United States, it is freezing cold and we still have hard packed snow outside. So I'm going to walk you through in preparation for spring and show you all the details. So it just uses a fulcrum. We're going to show you how to do that. You're going to have to put special screws on your hive to make this thing work. And you might be wondering, what kind of hive is it good for? Just Flow Hives? No, this will work on any Langstroth based hive, from a nucleus hive all the way up to 8 or 10 frame standard hives. Now this happens to be a Flow Hive. It has a stand. That's important to think about because it has to be at least 7 inches off the ground minimum. I've also thrown in a queen excluder there so that it's very distinctive. We can see it because whatever you have in your hive, this is still going to work, and I'm going to test it. So this hive has adjustable legs. It has a base, an entrance, brood box, queen excluder, and a Flow Super. And look at the temperature outside, 16 degrees Fahrenheit. That is not fun. That's -9 Celsius. So I'm going to show you first of all, if you're going to lift your super off of your Flow Hive. This happens to be the 6 frame super. There's a 7 which matches a Langstroth 10. The 6 matches a Langstroth 8. If you were lifting it without a hive lifter, this is how you would do it. You pull the viewing covers off of the sides of the Flow Super. You set them aside, and guess what? Now you have handholds that you can grab and lift it. Now, if you're thinking about saving your back, this is not the best angle to do that. I don't care what kind of hive configuration you have. You want to get it from the ends. So we're going to pull the back cover off, which is also the viewing area and can be a shelf. And we're going to put our hand in the handhold in the front and pull it next to our body. That's the best way to lift a full super. Now, they're not always full, I understand that, but they're still cumbersome and unwieldy, and you might get yourself in trouble. So we're going to talk about how to lift it with this new mechanism. We're going to put all the pieces back here, and then we're going to go from there. Remember, this is a 6 frame Flow Super. Each of those frames can hold half a gallon of honey when it's full. So we don't want to strain ourselves. This is really good news. I'm really glad to be a part of this. This is the development of Cedar and Stewart Anderson in New South Wales, Australia. So we're going to be attaching the parts that we need to here, but let's talk about clearances. I mentioned already it has to be 7 inches off the ground, so you need a hive stand. And then it's got these heavy duty load point screws that we're going to put in, and that's going to require us to remove the screws that are already in the Flow Hive box, the base, and the super. They're magnetic. What's that tell us? Corrosion resistant steel comes in 2 series, 300 series and 400 series. 400 series is magnetic. That's what this is. I'm glad to see that too, because that means that they tend to be a little bit tougher, a little bit stronger. They're also 3 3/8 of an inch in length, and it's using a square drive number 2. In this case, mine is from DeWalt. But square drives are pretty standard, and also they include bits. If you buy a Flow Hive, all that stuff comes with it. All their screws are self-tapping. They've got that little cut in the edge, so no pre-drilling required. When you buy a Flow Hive, the holes are already pre-drilled, but they're going to show you in the instructions here that you can attach these load-bearing screws to the front or the back. In my case, I'm going to put them on the back. It says to run them midway up, so that's what I'm doing. First, I have to pull out the stainless steel screws that came with the unit back when I assembled it. Now, you might be wondering about the coating on this hive. Why does it look so dark? Well, for one, it's been out in the weather because I use it for training, and this one may be treated with eco wood. So it's a little darker than most, and it is made out of cedar. So, and the cedar is Western U.S. red cedar. And that stuff will last a long time on its own. So I try it a lot of different ways. I put it out in the weather, treated, untreated, and in this case, eco wood. So we're pulling out the existing screws, and they are countersunk as well. And then I'm going to show you how to put the other ones in here. Remember, midway, top to bottom. And that's the same if you had a standard super or standard brood box that was not from Flow, you would put it in the same position about halfway through. And I think that's it. We just have 4 screws here. This is what it should look like. That countersunk area should be flush with the surface of the wood. Now we're going to break the kit out. Comes in this handy stow bag, and you can carry that over your shoulder, whatever. This thing does not take much space up in storage, so that's pretty darn cool. And now we're just going to open it up, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to use. Could look complicated, I don't know, but once you've used it a couple of times, it's pretty intuitive. So it's also got numbers on it that match the instructions, and as with all things that the Flow people do, the instructions are very clear. So let's go ahead and we'll first rest it on the bottom. Remember, they call those load point screws, but and then we're going to cover them on the top there too. And as soon as you lift this yoke up, it will separate the box. Watch this. So if you had propolis, and most of us know that the bees will propolis these boxes together, you would be breaking the propolis seal at one side. And you could do this with one hand while you use your hive tool to scrape into the propolis there and pry it up. And then once it's separated, you're on your way to lifting that top box off. This is pretty simple. Watch this. Tip it up and then just rest it on the yoke. Now the thing is, that third leg that sticks out there, so we're counting it kind of as a tripod, and remember that your stabilizing element is going to be the hive itself. This shows the brood box. I remove the queen excluder, and you would be inspecting brood frames, again, with your Flow Super tilted directly away. And guess what? Honey and nectar does not run out of the cells when you tip it that way. If you flipped them on the side, it sure could, but when you go end to end, it is not a problem, just like when you're inspecting frames. The other thing is that you have time to align things, get your bees out of the way. There's a brush included. Sometimes I use air to puff the bees out of the way, and then we lift up that telescoping leg, and the boxes go back together again, and we take the unit off. Pretty simple. Now when you're setting it up, the leg is telescoping, and we want to make sure that the angle of the leg coming off of the hive is more than 90 degrees. We don't want it tighter than a 90-degree angle. So sticking it out farther, more stability, and you decide how high that's going to be when you tip your box back for clearance. Now look at this. When the load comes down on the number 2 joint here, it actually pushes the rubber clamps tighter against the box. Likewise, when this top box bears down on the top receiver, it pushes those rubber coated clamps against the box. So it uses the weight of the hive itself to tighten the clamp. I thought that was pretty slick. So then we just tilt it back, and you've seen that before already, but this thing is built to last. Very simple. Once you see it, it seems obvious that this thing would work so well. Now again, we're using it on an empty hive. I have every confidence that this thing is going to support a full super, full brood boxes. And sometimes we put more than one box on our hive, and we load them up. So what if you had 2 supers? Worse than that. What if you had 2 flow supers? See these hinges right here? This make it adaptable width-wise so that it can do an 8-frame, 10-frame, or even a nucleus wooden hive. Anything that you can put screws in so you can mount it that's strong enough to support the weight. This angle, again, I'm just going to mention it, is important that stick out greater than 90 degrees. And that's because it needs to be a stable tripod. That's how we need to think about it. So your hive stand also needs to be solid, and the instructions, they say, should be on level ground. So I think I'm going to have fun using this. Plus, with that little T footprint out there, this thing is not going to sink into the softer ground and make this thing unstable. I think we're going to be okay there. Now, I'm going to use 2 supers. What do I have to do? I have to latch them together. So, Flow offers latches as well. Now, it seems like this is brass, so I was a little concerned. What if the screws are just brass? That would be a little too soft, but they're not. They're brass coated. So I'm happy to see that. Again, I tested with my magnet, and they are magnetic, so they're nice and tough. You're going to need 6 screws. It comes with it. These latches are adjustable, so you can put that really close to the joint, as I did here. Or you could actually extend them out because you just unscrew that toggle there and make it tighter or more loose, and you can move them away from the edges of your boxes. I put them pretty darn close. And I'm showing you the 2 access or viewing covers here because those brass knobs are the center points, and you want to center up your clamps. The reason you want to do that too is because if you put these clamps on several boxes and several pieces have to come together, you want to make sure that they're aligned dead center on each box sidewall. Now look what we're doing. We're lifting 2 boxes at once. And because they're both flow supers, any super, it doesn't matter whether they're flow supers or not, but these clamps will keep them lined up, and that little appendage that sticks up there that it rests against has a rubber bumper built onto it, so that's not metal carving a divot into your hive. So once again, I can imagine when these both are full, this is going to be very heavy, and it's going to press onto that. You may want to, I don't know, put another thin piece of wood there or something to distribute that so it doesn't put a little ding in your hive. And I'm doing this from the back side of the hive. I'll say that again, but you can also set this all up and do it from the front where the entrance is. So now we're going to lift that center pod there, the extension, and we're going to close it up, put the boxes together, and then I'm going to show you how to remove it. Very simple. And then it would go in your kit and you would put it away. But what if the hive was really heavy? We can do this also with the roof on. No big deal. You don't have to take it off, so you can leave the roof, the inner cover on. And now they also have these super lifter handles that I'm going to demonstrate on how to attach those so that you can tilt them from the front towards the back and have greater control over a heavy hive. These are the handles right here. No great surprise, really well built. They're spring loaded. You have an adjustment screw there, the wing nuts, thumb screws, whatever you want to call them, and a spring that keeps it stretched out so that when you clip it in, there's no wiggle room there. Nice and strong. The finish on these is really good too, so I'm going to show you how to install these. They have existing screws. Again, we're going halfway up. We're going to back them out to the thickness of the metal that we're going to have to put up there, and we're going to do that on both sides. So just 1 screw on each side. And you have a receiver in that little arm there, and then we're going to screw it tight. So the screw is used to hold this lifting arm against the hive so it's hands-free. Look at that. And we do the same to the other side, but this is an opportunity to show how it goes in there. See that little notch right there? The screw radius fits that, so we'll put that in there. And then we just use the wing nuts, cinch it up, and that's good to go. So there you have it. I think this thing is really built to last. Look at the length of the arms, because we're going to take advantage of the fulcrum here, and you're not going to hurt yourself lifting it. So if you're not in great shape, if you're older and you have sore shoulders, which is very common, things like that, this is going to take care of that problem too, because we ran those out from the bottom box. The other thing is the gabled roof on this is held in place by that brass thumb screw up there, digs right into the side of the Flow Super, and that will keep your lid on and your inner cover while we tilt this system. And you can check alignment of everything. It's really easy. Now we've also added clamps to the base. So the base to the brood box, also clamped, no shifting around, no risk of things falling apart. Highly recommend those anyway if you live in stormy, wintry weather or where you get high winds. Look at this. Super easy. You just tip that up. Of course, I know I'm lifting empty supers, but I guarantee you that it's also going to work when it's full of honey. Why? Because they've been doing R&D on this for a long time. They didn't just make a decision, throw this together, and ship it out. It has been well tested. So, what do you think? I think it's pretty darn good. And whether you use queen excluders or not, I just put a nice thick one in there because I figured if I had a thick one instead of the normal thin one that comes with flows, we have even more space there, which means that we can test kind of whether it's going to fit just right, and it does. When we lift that leg up, that leading edge will go back together, and with those extended handles, it's much easier to align the boxes before you close everything up. Remember, the screws stay in place. The screws that we used on the back for the lifting handles, though, you may want to close this back up. It's kind of a catch point. I also recommend, because I've been putting these together and using them since 2015 when they first came out, and I bought my first Flow Super. So we're coming up on my 10th year with Flow Hives. And I have to say that these people know how to innovate. They have very well engineered hives. And now, adding this lifting system is going to really change for the people that have had such a hard time how we access our brood boxes in the future. Super easy, one tool, carry it to any hive, and you're going to be good to go. Let me know what you think down in the comments section. I'm personally very impressed. I'm also honored that they asked for my opinion, that they sent me one, and that we reviewed the prototype together before this was ever developed. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope that you find this very interesting and you might consider getting yourself a Flow Super lifter so that you can effortlessly lift your supers off your brood boxes so you can do inspections, provide feed, pollen patties, whatever you need to do when you need to do it without straining your back. Thanks for watching.